So what can we expect? Well, going forward, generally the climate can be expected to become more unstable. And this unfortunately makes the planet a little bit more hostile than something that we've come to expect. This means that effectively our sort of black swan events that were quite rare, sort of the 1 in 500 year droughts from Europe, that sort of thing from the summer, those start to become a bit more regular than 1 in 500 years. But there's also sort of the indirect impacts as well, the things behind the sort of droughts, the floods, the sea level rise, crop failures, all the things that we sort of hear about in the headlines. There are more indirect consequences too. So one example of that is what I put on the screen there, which is around disease. So effectively, as we start changing the climate on a planetary scale, that effectively makes places more uninhabitable for wildlife. Either it gets too hot, too wet, whatever it is, and they need to move to survive. And they have to move at very short notice, don't have time to evolve into living in a new area. So as they move, that puts them in contact with other wildlife and that they wouldn't usually encounter, and with humans. And in the same way that we have thousands of different viruses and bacteria living within us at any one time that don't cause us any harm, the same is also true of wildlife. And when you start putting those together, effectively it creates one big party between these sort of viruses and bacteria, which gives them a chance to interact with one another and to mutate. And when that happens, it gives a chance to infect across species. And this is something that we've already seen happen quite a lot in the last 20 years. We've seen it in particular with SARS, we've seen it with MERS, with swine flu, with bird flu, with Zika, with the West Nile virus, and also with COVID-19. And all of these diseases have very similar hallmarks of how they originated, about those different organisms being mashed together and effectively new viruses mutating and jumping between species.